back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see.
They're side by side. Pato Award to the outside. He'll take the race lead. Award around Newgarden into turn one.
Pato Ward snaking around, trying to irritate that air. Newgarden to the outside. Newgarden side by side has taken the lead in the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
Joseph Newgarden with a strong run into turn number 3. Pato Award makes a run, but he will not catch it. Joseph Newgarden goes back to back.
Plug it. What's the name of it?
Across the Bricks.
Okay. Nice.
On the Irish Connection Media Network. Hello and welcome. Got a little at the end of the intro there, but we're back for week 8, episode 8, week 9, episode 8.
Probably week 12 though. We skipped a couple.
We have an absolutely mediocre race to cover.
It was all right though. I mean, there were some fun exchanges there.
I tell you what, the racing between Pelot and Lundgaard there, towards the end.
Yeah, I mean
that
makes the
lap
race.
of the however many there were.
Yeah, the
was
lap long battle.
Actually, really good.
Like 6 overtakes, probably more than the rest of the race. I don't know.
More than the rest of the race. Yeah, I severely or thoroughly enjoyed it. Severely. I don't know why I said severely. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
I mean, I thought it was a decent race. It wasn't a bad race. It was a decent race.
I will say, NASCAR came on in the middle. We'll go into that and talk about Fox and everything. I did fall asleep during NASCAR. And
Well,
then I
don't we
woke
all?
up and we were like 7 or 8 laps into back to the IndyCar, and I was like, well, what did I miss?
Yeah, I watched it afterwards, so I just skipped through the whole NASCAR part.
Yeah.
I can't relate.
We can hit on that real quick as a little episode starter. So Fox, actually it was not Fox's problem, it was IMS Productions' problem in their truck. They've built a lot of new trucks for this season to kind of work with Fox's equipment, and they had a circuit break. They had something blow up, if you want to put it in that way. And hey, this stuff, especially myself, I've worked in this business for a while. Stuff breaks sometimes, man. Even the most expensive equipment's gonna fail. Similar thing happened at St. Pete 2019. I don't remember that, but I've been told that it happened then. And you know what? Stuff happens. So they figured it out. They got it back and going, and identified the problem. Figured out how to fix it and got a new circuit somewhere. I'm sure they have extra stuff, but replaced all of it in about 20 laps. Like, I honestly find that impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give Fox too much credit comparing them to such a prestigious podcast such as our own, but we also fixed This is our second attempt at recording the podcast today, but we fixed our problem pretty quickly as well.
Yeah, we're pretty good at... So, if you've listened before, you know that we've had some quote-unquote technical difficulties. We found out that it was just because I would click the record button on the MacBook and leave the cursor on the record button, and then anytime I would accidentally grace the mouse pad, it would just click the record button and, end it. We always thought it was like if you're shaking the table or whatever. No, I just am absolutely terrible at using my brain.
Yeah. To be fair to Fox, it took them, maybe a day or two to figure that one out. It did take us eight episodes.
It took them like 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
We took a solid 8
Yeah,
to 9
it
weeks
took like
to
a good
figure
8 or
that
9
out.
weeks. And I've been doing these since the beginning of last semester too, so it took me a while. Although to be fair, no technical difficulties last semester.
My bad.
It's Justin's fault.
Even though I'm not running it.
Well, we'll run right into the podcast today. It was a action-packed week in a way, and we'll cover it all in just a second. All right, we're back, and I have an experience to talk about. Justin talked about his experience last week, which we never actually posted those photos because our phones decided that, they didn't want to share information with each other. They didn't want to be good friends and good pals, so I was not able to post those photos.
I
But
might be able to send you just the one of Scotty Mack and I. I'm really proud of that one.
Yeah, possibly. We're definitely going to need that one. But if you do not end up seeing them, just imagine Justin and a bunch of French exchange students standing on the Yard of Bricks on the podium in front of the pagoda, everything you can think of. I
Just
think you could
imagine it.
probably Photoshop the photos if you really tried.
Yeah, I mean, there's pictures of all these people on the internet somewhere. You can find everybody, put them on the Yard of Bricks.
Yeah, we
And-
could figure it out.
And just imagine me next to a piece of cardboard And that's a picture of Scotty.
Actually, I do want to get that one picture.
Okay, yeah.
We'll figure it out because I
I'll
want to
send that
post
to you.
that. That'll be the post with this week's podcast.
But that's not what we're talking about.
No,
Mr.
that's not
Wade
what we're talking
Knapp.
about. I had this really cool thing happen. So, as you guys have all figured out, this is my aspiring dream. It's one of the reasons why we're doing this, and one of the reasons I kind of forced Justin to do this with me. I do want to emphasize, I kind of forced you to do it with me. I didn't really ask, but I think you're enjoying it.
Yeah, you're
welcome. I think it's worked out for the both of us. But, working in IndyCar and covering IndyCar is what you could call my dream job, and I had the opportunity to go on the Trackside podcast, if you've ever heard of it. It's with Curt, Caven, who is a legendary Motorsport Hall of Famer journalist. He does a lot of writing, but he does do this podcast with Kevin Lee, who many of you probably know as the sideline, one of the main pit road reporters for the Fox IndyCar team and NBC for years, and he covered Pacers. He called the Malice at the Palace. He's done a lot of really awesome things in his career. Now he hasn't covered Indianapolis sports in 15 years, but that's how long he's been doing IndyCar. And my dad was at a silent auction and had donated to the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the opportunity to come do this, not knowing that we were going to be on air. It's a live radio show down at 107.5 The Fan, downtown in the Circle. And once we were talking before, he was giving us a tour, and he found out that I had a racing podcast just, through conversation. And he was like, well, you're comfortable on mic, right? You want to come on air? I was like, sure. It was a little nerve-wracking. I wasn't ready for it.
Not prepared in the
Not
slightest.
prepared at all. I had about an hour of them actually recording because I was on the second half of the show, roughly the last 20 minutes of the show. If you do want to go listen to it, it's just Trackside Podcast, really anywhere you find podcasts. And we've posted it on our story a few times. You can go find it somewhere. But I was trying to sit there and listen to their conversation, hear what they were talking about on the weekend so I could ask questions about that when they came on. And my job was basically, which I did not know until we got into the heat of the moment, was kind of just host it. Like I asked questions to Curt and Kevin, and we kind of talked back and forth. But I didn't really want to give too much of my opinion because if you don't know me and you're listening to Trackside, why does anyone care what I think?
Yeah, it makes more sense for Kevin Lee to be the one giving you the
But now
hot details,
I can be the fan perspective of, oh, what's this question? And I think I did okay. I do want to be honest. I didn't really understand kind of what was happening. So I went in with my journalistic mind and thought, oh my gosh, Kevin Lee's sitting right in front of me. I should ask some questions about Fox. He's an expert on that. And he's going to give me stuff no one else could because he works there. And then we got halfway through and he was like, let's get some racing questions in here. And I was like, oh yeah, we got to think about who's listening. And then we talked about, Alex Palou and Lundgaard and the weekend a bit more. But it was an absolute blast. It was an amazing opportunity. I did get to plug Across the Bricks. You might have heard it in our intro. We changed it up a bit. I think we did take away the little "you're listening to," but
now it's Wade and Kevin Lee talking.
But now it's Wade and Kevin Lee talking. So I thought it was a reasonable way to, change it up. Thought it was pretty cool. And I had a blast. It was really nice to meet connections. And like I've said before, I'm going back in May to do another internship with Fox, and hopefully I can reconnect with those guys, say what's up, and keep that relationship moving forward.
Yeah, it sounds like a really cool, valuable experience for you to get to see a professional podcast, though. I mean, we're basically at that point, I feel like.
Yeah, absolute professional here. All of our 9 listeners.
And
thanks, Mom.
Meeting, I think it was closer to 4 last week.
Was it 4
no.
last week? Yeah. If you are listening, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, and tell other people to listen to. We want viewers.
Yeah, viewers would be nice. And on that topic, Justin brought up the amazing idea to me yesterday that YouTube would be a good idea. And how much easier it is to get discovered, quote unquote discovered on there, than it is on Spotify. And we can intro a video aspect just because we don't have the equipment here. It won't be a video on us, but if we're talking about an Instagram post, I'll throw it up. That type of stuff, but
race clips or whatever.
Race clips, that might be a bit more difficult just because of copyright issues. But
we'll invert the colors or something.
But yeah, we can play it upside down. But yeah, I don't even know how to do that. I'm not gonna lie. But most of the time it'll just be our logo up on the screen. But hopefully that makes it easier for anyone out there who does not have Spotify to listen to us, because I know the Irish Connection Media Network site, which as easy as it is, I believe if you close your phone, it stops playing.
Yeah,
from what I
mean,
know.
Spotify and YouTube are definitely more convenient than that, and
Yeah,
YouTube
although I
is
think
something
YouTube
that
does the
basically
same thing.
everybody has.
Yeah, it just makes life easy. So I think YouTube also if you close your phone. But hey, it would be easier. It's just a general platform that everyone can reach with no payment whatsoever. And I don't think we're going to be big enough to get ads, so there'll be no disruptions. And yeah, so I'll get that up and running. I'll work on it today. Hopefully I get it up today. We'll see. I'll do what I can. Shouldn't take too long to build one. All right, we'll run into race recap. All right, Justin, what do you think on Thermal?
Like I said earlier, kind of like it was a decent race. It wasn't the most exciting race, but I mean, I've seen worse. It wasn't a parade fully. Like we had some action at the front, interesting pit strategies, like with how bad the tires were that weekend. I mean, it's mostly because of the heat, but I mean, I watched the whole thing. It was entertaining enough for me. I mean, I hope another like outside fan would have stayed to watch it as well. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah,
Last 8 laps, we had a battle for the lead there. It was a good race, I thought.
it was. I think it was a solid race especially because of the strategy component to it, and Rossi being the only one all weekend being like, "Yeah, this is a red race," and then he went to it at the end, which no one expected. And it was. Have you ever seen the clip of like, "Oh, it's an interesting strategy. Let's see if it pays off for him." It's from a movie.
No, I don't think I have.
Well, anyways, I saw a really good meme with that. It was funny. I might both. Nah, I don't think I actually can throw that one up on the Instagram. I can throw the clip up there. We'll put it right here.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Hope you enjoyed that. Anyways, so the race was the overwhelming thing from the media that I have heard has been negative.
Yeah, I heard some viewer numbers were heavily tanked this time around compared to St. Pete. So
Also, it was in competition with the NCAA tournament and NASCAR. And on top of that, one of the most important things in TV is your lead-in. What is playing before you, so people might stick around and watch. And I'm not calling the Bassmasters much of a lead-in.
yeah, I mean, we could work on that, but I feel like it would be a great thing if you didn't need a lead-in to get viewers on the race. you
Yeah.
know?
Which would be nice.
I saw less advertisements coming up to Thermal than I did for St. Pete. I mean, mostly because there was less time in between St. Pete than there was in front of St. Pete.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see some more of those ads coming out for Long Beach, and then hopefully the viewers recover from that. They're not going to have a broadcast issue, which definitely nobody who was just checking out for the first time stuck around after the broadcast.
Yeah, and I think that's just something that happened at a completely unlucky time. And like we talked about earlier in the show, you can't control those things.
Yeah,
It just happens.
It was just really unlucky for that to happen. So.
Yeah, and I put nothing on Fox or IMS Productions. They're both obviously really good corporations. That's why they've been around for so long. So, and you never know. You can't tell about that stuff. There's no, this is 80% done. Like it just goes until it doesn't anymore. So, just unlucky that happened in the middle of a race rather than during a practice or a test run or something like that. So, hopefully that doesn't happen again. Fingers crossed. We haven't seen it since 2019. So these things seem to happen every 5 or 6 years. Hopefully it's another 5 or 6 years. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Allergy season, man, it kills you.
It is terrible these days.
So we'll kind of talk about. We can run through our predictions from the race.
Mine were pretty bad, if I remember.
Low key, kind of.
I think you did well.
I kind of cooked, yeah.
I got them up here. So
You do.
for pole, both of us were wrong. Wade had Fro, I had Pelot. It was
And-
Pato, as we all know.
Yep.
Pretty solid qualifying effort there. Wade's podium was Pelot, Lundgaard, and Fro. He got Pelot in first for 3 points. Lundgaard just won because he was in the wrong spot there.
Yeah, I had Lundgaard finish third. I'm in second.
And Fro, unfortunately, not on the podium. Where did he end up finishing?
Fro finished. I have it pulled up right here. Fro finished 5th.
So
I
actually,
wasn't far off.
really
there.
good for him.
Yeah.
And his biggest mover was Graham Rahal, which I think he actually did have a solid race, but Will
Yeah.
Power was the biggest mover. 'cause
Will
he-
Power was the biggest mover. He
Penske's
went from like
qualifying.
25th to 6th, something like that. I believe Graham went from 17th to 11th, which is not bad for
Not
Graham.
bad, yeah.
Your pole position was Alex Palou, which Pato got. You had Scott Dixon winning the race, who had a very unfortunate race. He finished 10th, which is honestly not that bad, but he just started on the wrong strategy and kind of never made up from there.
It's not often Dixon's on the wrong side of a strategy call, but
It seems that number 9 PNC Bank car right now is just trying to do a lot of the opposite of what Palou is doing to try to counteract it and hopefully beat him, which to me, as dominant as we talk about Palou is, I don't think Dixon's that worse of a driver, quote unquote.
you could just let the two battle it out,
Yeah,
and
like-
Dixon could come out on top half the time.
I think they don't need to counteract it that much, but so far this season, it's been like, oh, Palou's doing it, we need to do the opposite, and hopefully we can beat him. Meanwhile, I think at a lot of tracks, Dixon can just beat Palou on pure pace and experience.
Yeah,
as
we're
we've
acting
seen
like
before.
Scott Dixon isn't good enough of a driver.
We're
to
acting like Scott
beat
Dixon
people,
isn't a
right?
top 4 IndyCar driver of all time. And yes, he's like 43, but I don't think,
I don't think he's fallen off too hard.
yeah. You had Colton Herta in second, who finished 4th. Good day for Colton Herta, especially in that Andretti car that was kind of struggling all weekend. I guess Kyle Kirkwood was up there in 8th, and Ericsson
Yeah,
is having already a pretty struggling season. But that Andretti car was not that fast all weekend.
they were all running up near the front. I think Kirkwood and Ericsson were 5th and 6th near the start of the race, and then
Yeah.
I think tires fell off at the end of the stint, and they just dropped.
From looking at practice times, they had a better qualifying than they probably should have.
Yeah,
but
they
I
might have
think
got
that's
lucky with the
honestly
times.
due to just Andretti's got 3 really good drivers. As bad as Ericsson's been these past 2 years, we all know that man can drive.
Yeah, he's a really great driver.
There's absolutely no question about that. So,
Might
and
have
then
been out driving the car there, which could explain why the tires were falling apart because
Yeah.
they're pushing just a little too hard to keep up.
yeah, that and I mean it was just with how hot it was this weekend, it was so hard to keep tire life in.
Yeah, exactly.
It was quite difficult, which I think is why Palou won this. So you guys remember when we said we'd fix the technical difficulties?
We haven't.
Big.
Like I said earlier, professional podcast. We always rebound. We're back at it. Despite the technical difficulties, they can't stop us.
Yep, so Justin and I will now continue sitting here with our hands in our lap instead of on the table and not even shake anything at all.
Absolutely no moving.
Yep, professional podcast. Anyways, so Palou's tire management is insane.
Yes, it is.
We all know that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you won this race. And then your Palou finished 3rd, or you had Palou finishing 31, so you got 1 point
Yeah.
there. And then you had David Malukas as your biggest mover, who I do believe had a good weekend. David Malukas finished 18th after an absolutely poor qualifying performance. If I'm not mistaken. Never mind, David Malukas started 12th and finished, so he went down.
That's a shame.
Yeah, absolute shame from little Dave. I'm not sure what happened there. I'm gonna have to go back and look at it. So you gained a nice 1 point on the week, and I gained 4, which means after last week's 3-3 tie, I'm now up to 7 points. You're up to 4. If you'd like to check out these, what are they called? Predictions.
Yeah.
Go check out our Instagram. I post them on there every week, and I'll probably flash it up on the screen on the YouTube as well if you're watching on there. Thank you so much for joining us. And now we'll move right into, what is it?
Fantasy?
We can do fantasy. Yeah, we'll move right into fantasy. All right, let's talk teams. Justin is cooking.
I gotta be honest with you. The race predictions part that we do, that's not my cup of tea. But fantasy, I am leading. I don't want to say it, but by a mile over here. I'm like Alex Palou at every race.
Justin's beating me by 300 points. And to put that in perspective, that is about a fifth of the points he has,
Yeah.
roughly.
And my team is up in value quite a bit. It's 109.5 million, but I have 40-something million in the bank still.
I actually went down this week, which is bad.
How'd
My
you lose
team-
value? Hold on.
Newgarden.
And Kirkwood. Oh, yeah. I mean, he finished worse than last time. That makes sense.
Yeah. I got lot. Most of my value down came from Newgarden.
Palou getting $0 extra for
Yeah.
a win is crazy.
This is the stupidest thing. So, you want to know how dominant this man is in IndyCar right now?
He's expected to win.
He
Like-
gets 3rd on pole, or third on qualifying. He has good practice times all weekend, which isn't part of fantasy at all, but qualifying is. And then he passes some cars because he didn't go from first to first. So he starts third. He works his way through the field, has to narrow a 20-second gap or whatever it was to Pato in like, what was it, like
It
13
was
laps?
It was 0.
But he did it in like 5. And he goes up 0 in value because at $30.3 million, they don't think that he's expected to win.
Yeah, like if he gets second place, it's a bad day. It's like the worst day of the season if this guy doesn't win.
Yeah,
It doesn't make sense, man. He's too good.
I don't get it. We talked about David Malukas having a bad day, though. He had as many points as, like, Renus VK, who probably also had a bad day. Let me check.
No, he went up.
No,
in
VK
value.
finished 1 above of Malukas. Never mind. I think my thing this week was Kirkwood had a decent race, but nothing too special. Newgarden had a bad race, even though he scored more points than Kirkwood. I think that's because of passes. Yeah, he had 12 overtakes. Meanwhile, Kirkwood went down. Actually, Kirkwood finished exactly where he started. Malukas had a bad race. VK had a bad race. Siegel had a bad race. So I really only had Pelot as my breadwinner there. What were you looking like this week?
Like I said, very good, looking very good. I had Pelot and Pato, who both had great races, and then I had everybody went up in value,
Bro.
or Pelot stayed even.
How do you have those top 5 on a team?
Oh, I basically did have the top 5 on the team, and then Schwartzman. who-
No. But like your Pelot, Award, Herta, Rosenquist, Armstrong. How is that allowed
I mean,
value wise?
Rosenquist and Armstrong are cheap for some reason, even though they've qualified Fast 6 like 2 weeks in a row, and then
Is that
Fro got top 5. Like
see? But like the thing is, you can't.
they're still
have them
eligible
right
for
now,
double points.
which is insane. Like I hate you. You're too good at this.
I'm gonna fall off. Don't worry.
There's
But
no way.
yeah, I had a lot of good point scores. I had Fro as the double points guy, which was big with a top 5, 228 points from him. That was probably where I got the edge on everybody.
Didn't know McLaughlin DNF'd? I didn't even
yes,
realize.
he
He was
was
a
a-
hybrid.
Yeah,
That's what it was. I don't know why I thought he went back out.
he was. No, I think he did go back out. He was a couple laps down, and he just parked it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, fantasy update this week. Justin is whooping all of us. Riders in second. Really only 100 points behind Justin, and I say that like that's not a big margin. Sam Everly is there in third. Joe Mervildi in fourth. Myself in fifth, and Adrian's down there in sixth.
Look, man, this is bad PR. You got to get to the podium at
I know,
least.
I don't-
of your own league, man.
I'm not looking.
You're making
like
us look bad.
The Across the Bricks Fantasy League is. I got to step my game up. I don't know what to do, man. I'm not picking the good low drivers, and I didn't pick a good enough team to start the year as much as I thought about it. That the value's gone up.
I mean, I've been getting lucky these weeks, but I just want to point out, just brag a little bit. In James Hinchcliffe's league, I am
Hinch
fourth
down, hammer down.
of 1,700 players. I'm fourth right now.
Justin is fourth of 1,700 players. Max Clark's first. Shout out to him. He's a upcoming driver in the Road to Indy Series right now. But that's wild.
I'm just going to say it now because I'm not going to be able to say it again, but I'm actually doing good right now.
You are killing it. I'm in that Hinchtown League. I am in 859th.
Top hat? Nope, not top hat. Sorry.
Woo! Which makes my life really fun. In the IndyCar Official League, you're probably up there, Justin. Are you
I'm
in that
almost
one?
top 1,000.
Almost top.
1,085th.
That's wild. Wow. How
This
fun.
is the team that I randomized.
The team that you it's a different team. Oh, okay. I have the
Yeah.
same team in both leagues.
I would be 9th overall with my other team in the official IndyCar league, just based on points.
Yep. Look at you. All right, we'll throw this over to a topic I'm about to surprise Justin with. He has no idea what I'm going to say.
Oh boy.
All right, Justin. This is something that I guess it's a two-parter,
This is not good news for me.
but it's kind of separate questions.
All right, hit me with
Kind
it.
of, we're talking the same generation of drivers here. That's the only way it really relates. But this weekend brought two ideas to my mind. One, with Pelot's keep winning, his name keeps coming up in that Cadillac F1 deal more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over Herta, because this man has an FIA license already, if I'm not mistaken. And if he doesn't, he already has enough points to get one, so no big deal. And, I mean, look at him, right?
Yeah.
But he's under contract with Chip Ganassi till 2026. Now, the last time we had a lot of contract issues back in 2021 with when he tried to go join McLaren and all of that ordeal, Ganassi signed him,
Ganassi
flipped
said
out.
no.
There was a whole dispute there. A lot of legal lawsuits I believe are still going on in some ways.
Yeah,
And
they just stopped talking about him.
Ganassi signed him to an extension on the contract that I guarantee you, there's no confirmation on this, but Palou wouldn't have signed it without a out for F1.
I mean, it seems like he doesn't have an out of this contract, like a way out, because he
Well,
would have
here's
been
the
out
thing.
already.
What are the contract details? Because there might be something in there. This is something Kevin Lee brought up on the podcast when I was sitting in the room with him, was there might be you want Alex Palou? I lost him last time. I'm not giving up again. There's a buyout. Maybe it's $40 million. You want to
Seems low.
F1 team? F1 team, you want to buy out my entire race team for Alex Palou? Go for it. I'll take that money and make my Indy cars faster with whatever driver I can. Right? Maybe it's that. Maybe it's no. This dude's generational. We will not see anyone ever again like this and how dominant he's been. You can't take him until end of 2026, and then I'll try to re-sign him, but it's his decision.
I mean, if I were Ganassi, I would just keep Palou around till the new car comes and then get a ridiculous amount of money for that guy.
Yep.
And get him out.
So here's the question. In 2021, there was this massive dispute over Alex Palou, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Huge dispute. Alex Palou was good then. He was a solid driver, but he was not the Alex Palou of today.
Not at all. I mean,
Not even close.
won championship.
I don't know if he'd even. It was before he won a championship because it was beginning of 2021.
Yeah.
It was right when he signed with Ganassi, right? And through all of that, he drove to go win his first championship. But the real question is, what did McLaren and Ganassi see in him then? So obviously he was a solid driver and you really want him, but Chip wouldn't have fought that hard if a Kyle Kirkwood tried to go leave. Nothing against Kyle Kirkwood. He's a very solid driver. He's going to win a few races a year, but in no way is Kyle Kirkwood Alex Palou.
Yeah, I mean,
what
with other drivers, he probably would have just said, "Hey, you can pay me
Yeah.
a couple $1 million. We'll call it a deal.
But
you can
Chip
take my
is
driver."
spending thousands of dollars of legal fees to keep this man on his team for 3 or 4 more years before he even shows that he can win. I mean, this isn't Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari and Mercedes trying to keep him, and he's won 6 champions. No, this is before he's done anything. What do you think McLaren and Ganassi saw in him in that moment, or why do you think they could predict that so confidently?
I mean, probably just telemetry data. They were looking at his lap times, looking at his tires after the thing, like how much fuel he used, comparing his line to other drivers, all that sort of thing. They have so much data that they don't show the common viewer.
Yeah.
That, I mean, they're analyzing it every second that they're not on track on the weekend.
I think it's more the fact that he's just a killer.
Yeah,
Townsend Bell said it when he was driving. He compared himself to an animal when this is also something Kevin Lee said. I'm just pulling from him. But when he started driving, Townsend Bell compared himself to an animal. I think it was a shark. It was just, I'm just a cold-blooded killer. Whatever it is to get the race won, I'm going to do it. And I think Palou's that way, right? He's one of the nicest guys in the paddock. They talk a lot with Fox right now about what makes a driver interesting. Joseph's charisma, right? Pato, his Irish last name, but he's Mexican. This big personality. He's his own boy band. Palou's interesting because he's just fast. He's just all living heck.
Yeah, just the best driver by far.
He's got a cute daughter. He's Spanish. He's really, really, really fast. There's nothing else to him.
And maybe that's what they see. They just see a guy who just wants to drive, and that's what they want. They already have kind of a big fan kind of guy like Dixon, who people are, they're fans of Scott Dixon. You go to the track, you see every little kid's got a number 9 shirt, PNC Bank, it's orange and blue. Every kid's wearing that shirt.
Yeah.
So maybe they didn't need a personality kind of guy. They just needed a guy who drives and drives. And
which I'd argue Scott Dixon isn't really a personality type of guy either.
No, but he has a fan base. He doesn't bring he's not a big personality, but
If
he
I'm being-
brings the fans.
If I'm being honest, so does Pelot now, and for right reason. And then my second part of this, obviously Herta and Pato came in at the same time for Harding from Indy Lights as the next generation, the future of IndyCar, if you will. And it's really worked up and become that way. Herta and Pato have been really good drivers in the series for a significant amount of years now, but they each had their absolute own flaws, right? Herta has never been good on ovals. He didn't even win on one and didn't really get a lot of top fives on one until his win last year in
yeah.
Nashville. And now Pato never was really good on road and street courses. Yeah, they were both always solid on their respective weaknesses, but Pato now had a pole this weekend, a really good race, which I think he really could have won if it wasn't for Pelot Masterclass. And he, with his biggest mover award on St. Pete, even after a bad qualifying. Looking at both of them, but specifically Pato because it just happened, do you think we're starting to see the point in their careers where they're figuring out their weaknesses and turning into the elite drivers we expected them to be? Like, did we put too much pressure on them immediately to be the generational talent and be amazing immediately? Like, are we starting to see that time develop?
I mean, there was definitely a lot of talk when Herta first came into the series. Like, this kid's going to be the next big thing. There were rumors of him going to F1 as soon as he even got into IndyCar. Like, he was always really well thought of. Like, everybody thought he was a super talented driver. And I would disagree. I wouldn't say his main weakness was the oval work, like that he wasn't doing well in ovals. I would say it was more his consistency because he normally, he's either winning the race or he crashes in like 20 laps in his early career.
Yeah.
He was either dominating on the street courses or in the wall.
Or both, like Nashville.
Like, he was just a little bit too inconsistent at the beginning, and I think they are both starting to figure it out, and if Pelot wasn't here, it would definitely just be a battle between those two guys. Because Pato, like, he was kind of similar where he just went a little bit over the top, like kind of a little too risky sometimes, and he'd lose some races that way. Like, I mean, we all remember the 500 kind of dive bombing and ruining his race.
Yeah, that he dive bombed Scott Dixon at Long Beach a few years ago.
Yeah,
That's
so
another one sticks out to
just
mind.
a bit ambitious, but a really great driver, and I think he's starting to, cool out a little bit and just focus on maybe championship minded versus just like I want to win the race type of mind.
Yeah.
And, like, he was destroying at Thermal before
100%.
Pelot. Like,
And he still did. Second
Yeah,
is an absolutely
yeah.
amazing finish.
it was
in
second
the
by
IndyCar series.
probably 10 seconds. I don't remember, but it
was
was a big
'cause of
gap.
the tires.
Right.
It was just a strategy thing because Pelot had the tires to go fast.
Well, he was like, there was a gap between him and Pelot, and then the guy behind also. I think there was a big gap there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was his teammate, too. So, like, he's clearly got pace.
He outpaced Lundgaard on the same strategy.
And
strategy.
like, if Pelot's not in the series, we would have had Pato, who got second at St. Pete. Like,
Dixon.
yeah, like, those are big guys that are just behind Pelot. Pato Award being right up there with Dixon. I think if Pelot
He's
gets the
figuring
F1
it
seat,
out.
if Pelot gets the F1 seat, we're gonna see probably Colton Herta win the championship this year.
You think?
But
Well,
next year, sorry.
Next year. That's a topic I want to talk about on another episode. Who gets the F1 seat, whether it's Herta or Pelot, and if so, who fills in their IndyCar seat?
I mean, we'll probably see some young talent come in, just some new guys shift around the series. Or, I mean, if it's at a Ganassi, I wouldn't be too surprised if a guy like Lundqvist came back or Lundgaard went over.
either.
Like, some of the really talented guys who just haven't been given the best of opportunities yet. I mean, Lundgaard has a great opportunity this year, but
Yeah.
Lundqvist, he was shining last year.
I'd also like to throw out there, Louis Foster is a Andretti driver from Indy Lights.
Yeah, if
They
Herta's
still have rights
out,
to him. If Herta's out, as much as we haven't seen much from Louis Foster this year, he's learning a lot about the IndyCar. And if you remember back to Kyle Kirkwood's rookie year in IndyCar, he was at Andretti and he had a few spotlights, but nothing significant.
well, rookie year he was with Foyt and then
Yeah.
came up to Andretti afterward.
When
he
Rossi
did the
moved.
same thing. He was with Andretti and Indy Lights and then came
Yeah,
back over.
and we see that a lot with Andretti academy drivers is that they come up to IndyCar on a lower team and don't have a lot of success, but they just learn the ropes, and then they get in an Andretti car year two and they're wicked fast. And obviously, Kyle Kirkwood's been a good driver in the series for a few years now. I think Louis Foster could do the same. All right, we'll move into Fight Club. All right, we got second half of the bracket. I do want to throw. Last week we said the Pato Lundgaard would go up on the Instagram, and we went 50-50 on that one. So we have made the executive decision via other friends that are IndyCar fans to put Pato Award through.
Which I definitely agree with.
I think he's just the more popular fan vote there. I definitely see a case for Lundgaard, but Pato will move on. So, first of the second side of the bracket.
First of the second.
Connor Daly
Wise.
versus Marcus Armstrong.
My instincts go to Connor Daly just because he's bigger.
The mullet's winning him everything.
Yeah, the mullet kind of gives you at least plus 50 pounds of punching power.
I can agree with you there, besides that my Apple Pencil died, even though I've been charging it over here for 5 minutes.
We'll just remember it again. I think this
Yeah.
happened last time.
Yeah, I got it. All right, this one.
Larson Power.
Yeah, this one is Larson Power.
Could have to put that one to a vote.
Look, Kyle Larson Power. I think that's the vote this week because you got the NASCAR. I feel like if anyone's going to win a fight in IndyCar right now.
It's a NASCAR driver.
Well, it's willpower. We've seen the feistiness that man has. But then also, it's a NASCAR driver. That man gets into fights weekly.
NASCAR it's actually a boxing league, but they just put them in the cars before the match, and then they go fight on pit lane afterward.
Yeah, that's our vote this week, I believe. We'll go Larson Power up on the Instagram. Please go vote. Please do.
Yes.
It makes our lives a lot easier.
And please, an odd number of votes this time.
Yeah, not 2 and 2. I appreciate the 4 of you that actually
I won't
did vote,
complain,
though.
if it's 3 and 3. That's 2 more votes this week. That'd
Yeah,
be fun.
let's go. All right, Callum Ilott and Ryan Hunter-Reay.
I don't know. What do you think?
What do I think?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think Ilott and Hunter-Reay are both not
Give me
winning.
Hunter-Reay. Ilott's too British.
too British.
He's too British.
You think he'd
He's
pull out a
from-
shank in it?
He's from Cambridge.
No, I mean, I could take Hunter-Reay there. I'm perfectly fine putting him down.
Yeah, just
I have
if
no
my Apple
take on
Pencil would
that,
work.
just because I think they both are bad at fighting. Personally,
Yeah, I don't think either of them are moving on. My Apple Pencil's just broken.
Rossi and Foster. What do we think there? I mean, I personally,
sick.
my mind goes to Rossi there.
Yeah, I think Rossi. Have you ever seen the Wreck-It Ralph clip? It's like you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, right? And then he takes glasses and hits Wreck-It Ralph with the glasses.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like
It's a
Rossi would
classic
do
clip.
that with Louis Foster. He'd just take the glasses and hit him.
yeah, and I think he's a bigger person than Foster.
Rossi's
Foster's a little short.
Rossi's a large fella,
he's
and
a
I mean
large
that in a
fella.
good way.
Yeah, he's like a tall fella, long arms.
He's
He could hit him.
He's a tall fella, long arms, lean, mean, fighting machine. I think Rossi's going far, and also he's just a feisty guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's at least going to move on for the next round because Ilott, Hunter-Reay, like, neither of those guys are going to beat him.
Although a Rossi Hunter-Reay fight would be really funny because they're friends.
I mean, I think that makes it all the better.
Yeah, me too. All right, VK Abel. I'm just writing it down.
Yeah, just put him down.
We're taking Renus there. A little Renus VK action.
Harvey
Harvey Kirkwood.
Kirkwood.
Yeah,
Yeah,
too British. I'm against British people
too.
today.
Yeah, you're against. Yeah,
He's
not
too
very nice, man.
pasty. And,
To our 0 British
Kirkwood's got
viewers,
all-
I apologize about Wade's
our
rudeness
0
today.
British viewers. I'm a British guy. I like the
Football.
I like talking about football.
Football in it.
But
Newgarden and DeFrancesco. Should we move on?
well, yeah, and Kirkwood's got the fishing equipment.
Yeah,
He's
I mean,
gonna come
hit
in
him
with the hook,
a
line, and the sinker.
yeah, for sure.
Anyways, Newgarden and DeFrancesco.
I think Mr. Newgarden might be taking that one.
I feel like different. Have you ever, like when like a little kid runs at you and you just hold your hand out in their head and they just run into your head?
Yeah,
That is
you-
100% what Newgarden would do with Devlin.
Yeah.
It would be so funny. We skipped over it. The McLaughlin, Devlin, DeFrancesco little kerfuffle at the end of the.
We also skipped over Colton Herta's penalty.
We also did skip over that.
He
Colton
lost
Herta
10
got
points in the
docked 10 points
championship,
for a technical failure,
which they
and
did not tell us about.
I believe it was a $25,000 fine for Andretti,
Yes.
which is pocket change for them. But
Something failed on an inspection, and IndyCar fined him.
Yeah.
Whatever. They're following the rules. It's good.
And
No big
then
scandal this time, hopefully.
We'll end it off with Ferrucci Erickson.
Ferrucci.
Yeah, I'm taking the walking caricature himself right there.
The ferret, as he's known by some.
The ferret, as he's known. Well, as the period comes to an end here, as it usually does, because we talk for too long, and we appreciate if you listen to us for this entire 40 minutes. But thanks for listening to another episode of Cross the Bricks.
Look for us on YouTube next week.
Yeah, look for us on YouTube. Even this week, I'm hoping to get this one up today, or at least sometime soon. Also, disclaimer, no episode next week. Justin and I will be on spring break, so we won't be...
there won't be a race.
Are you going
either,
anywhere?
Though. Yeah, I'm going down to Florida.
I'm going to Alabama, so yeah, there'll be no race. There's no ability to record. There's nothing to talk about. We'll both be out of state. So thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks to discuss Long Beach. Peace.